So let's start by trying to explain what exactly is the Book of Zohar and how it is, what it is made of, what are its parts. Because even though people assume that we are talking about one book, it is actually a text that is a treasure trove of words, ideas, interpretations, associations. It's an absolute wonder, this book, which is not a book, but it sometimes can be 24 books, 23 books, 20 something books. It's a very, very, very big, long text, and definitely not one book. But the entire information of the Book of Zohar is in a way encoded or encrypted in this word of the book. It's some sort of a sacred book, a holy book, very special book, Jewish tradition. And to be honest, mankind in general would not be the same if it wasn't for the Book of Zohar. So let's try to understand a little bit more about the parts of the Book of Zohar. So we have we can say that the big part of the Book of Zohar is the Zohar interpretations on the Parashot Shavua, on the portions of the week, on Bereshit, Noach, and so forth. Most of the portions of the week that the Zohar is talking about, there isn't always a fine, accurate line of connection between the portion of the week and what the Zohar is talking about. Usually, you need to dig in very deep and probably much higher than your own human understanding to understand actually the connection between the portion of the week and what's being taught in relations to this portion of the week. But sometimes there is a very obvious connection, which is very clear to the mind. We can pick it up very, very easily sometimes, but not always. So those stories or those texts about the portions of the week, about the Parashot Shavua that the Zohar is touching, and again, this is the big part of the Zohar. It usually are some sort of introduction to the portion, not always related to the portion, sometimes related, but even when it's related, there is some sort of mental jump you need to do in order to understand really the connection or to dive into it. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was the one supposedly that wrote the Zohar, but it's also it's not also accurate, because they are interpreters that says that the one that actually took Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's words, ideas, philosophy, theoretical knowledge, or beautiful, great secret he revealed by opening his mouth was actually Rabbi Abba, one of his friends in the fellowship. As you know, or maybe you don't know, so I will say, but the Book of Zohar is basically telling us a story about a fellowship, about few very interesting, remarkable, intelligent sages living in the northern district of Israel, somewhere around the Meron Mount and Tzipori and the hills of the Galilee near Tzfat. All those places are basically the geographical location on which this Book of Zohar is talking about. And those people are walking along the hills, moving from one place to another. Remember, it's before we have cars, it's before they had a donkey, they had their friendship. They walked by foot from one place to another, and while walking from Tzipori to Meron, from Meron to Yavne, from while they were going along the way, their stories and their concepts and their ideas, their spiritual allegory to life above and life below, everything was always happening while they were walking, while they were in a way, in a very timeless place, or an ongoing journey, which is the ongoing journey of us as well, of our everyday life. So we are in the first part of the Zohar, which is these portions of the week. And usually what it talks about is those sages' stories about what happens to them when they walk from one place to another, when they meet each other, when they are on their way to one another, going to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, going to Rabbi Pinchas, meeting Rabbi Yehuda on the way. It's a very, very interesting background to a much more interesting, layered secrets that we will reveal.